The home of your dreams can quickly become a nightmare if you buy the wrong house. Just because you love the house doesn't mean you should buy it. With interest rates higher than what we're used to and home prices supremely inflated, you want to make sure that you're not buying a money pit that you're going to regret later. I've bought and sold several homes myself, and as a real estate agent in Colorado, I've seen hundreds of homes. So today, we're going to go over the types of homes that you need to avoid buying to help you save up to tens of thousands of dollars and help you feel good about your home purchase with no heartache or regret. The first home to avoid is a mountain house. Not all mountain houses are bad, but some are, and here's why. Mountain houses have to be treated differently in Colorado. Now, if it's a warmer climate, it might be a different situation, but in Colorado, you have to take care of these houses differently. If you're going to be using it as a second home or a vacation home, you have to winterize it and all of the additional maintenance, the snow plowing and all of that stuff. I would avoid buying a mountain house. I used to want to buy a mountain house. I used to think it would be so cool to have a little retreat up in the mountains. But when I saw the amount of maintenance that I had to do to take care of it, I quickly changed my mind. And the other thing is that the signal is not the best up in the mountains. So as I'm driving and showing property in these mountain areas, I didn't have any signal. And so that was a huge concern for me. I don't want to be driving into town and not have signal. I didn't want to be far away from the grocery store. So things of that nature. So you really got to think about how much access you have to civilization if you're going to be in a mountain house. Now, the next house that you don't want to buy is what we call lipstick on a pig. It's basically a home that has been flipped, but with poor workmanship. Some of these people that are flipping these houses, they're doing it themselves. How do you even know if they're doing everything correctly? For example, there was one house where it was a real estate agent selling it. She had purchased the house using a hard money loan. And when you're using a hard money loan to flip a property, you're under a tight time frame to get the work done, as the interest rate can be very high and costly to the borrower or the flipper. She basically rushed the work. She didn't even properly attach the garbage disposal to the sink. She installed electrical that kept tripping. She was not a licensed contractor, just handy, or at least she thought she was handy. And you could just tell the work was rushed and not done properly. She didn't even hook up the dryer correctly upon further inspection. Now, I'm not saying that all flips are bad, but a lot of them are, because people are just doing it for the money and they're not taking their time. And so if you see a house that's been on the market and flipped within just a couple months, it's probably going to be rushed. So you're going to want to take your time to look through it and make sure that the work is nicely done. Because I have noticed paint jobs or half-hearted work done on the homes where some parts of the house look really great, but then it's like they got bored or ran out of time or money to continue fixing the house. So there was one paint job where they didn't even paint all the way to the bottom of the stair railing. It just looked terrible. Oftentimes they don't do any repairs to the home or updates. They're just trying to make it look nice enough to sell it to their next victim. The next home to avoid is one that is infested with pests. I can't say that word, especially termites. Termites do some major damage to homes, and it's difficult to repair. Usually you have to replace it all. And then who's to say that those nasty little things aren't going to come back? There is a specific neighborhood in Colorado Springs, not everywhere, that has a huge infestation of termites. And you can kind of tell when you look into the wood and you can see the little nasty things. You can see them flying around everywhere. You can see the patterns that they've made in the wood. And they're kind of stubborn and hard to get rid of. You might have to go over it 1 or 2 times. I don't care how nice the house is. I'm not going to expose myself to termites. Like, I'm just going to move to the other side of the city. Now, one thing that you have to be careful about, because we don't have a lot of pest issues, a lot of real estate agents will not recommend getting a pest test because it's kind of a waste of money. However, I still recommend it because it's not expensive. And it's just a peace of mind to know that you don't have like a bunch of snakes in your basement. Like, who wants to, be surprised when that happens? Another home that you should never, ever buy is one that sits on top or used to sit on top of a natural spring. This happens a lot in Colorado. We have a ton of clay in our soil that makes the ground shift a lot. So you don't want to buy a house that is going to fall inside of one of these springs, or even worse, an old mine shaft. So you need to do your due diligence and ask these questions before you buy the house. In Colorado, you will notice floating walls in our basements. These walls shift as the basement floors shift over time to move with the house on that shifty soil. But no amount of floating wall will protect you if you're sitting on an old mine shaft or another giant cavity in the earth. Now, these developers, they were just assuming that this ground was good to build on. They assumed that whatever these mine shafts or springs were filled with was good enough. But over time, all you need is a really good rain for it to wash out all of the dirt or whatever they tried to put in there. Next thing you know, your house starts sinking into these cavities. And you won't know it right away, but you'll start seeing the giant cracks up through the walls. Now, another house you want to avoid is a house that is in a flood zone or prone to expansive soils and landslides. You don't want to live in a house that could potentially fall off of the hill eventually one day. And when you're living in one of these flood zones or on a mine shaft or in an area where you have to buy additional insurance, that's something that you're going to want to know now before you buy the house and not later down the line when something crazy becomes an issue. The thing is that the house may have just been fine for years and years and years, but then suddenly, like I said before, we get a big rain or a really heavy snow, and the next thing you know, your house is sliding down the hill. Take this family, for example. These residents who live over a historic coal mine are determined to fight for reimbursement after a state board denied their claims for home repair costs. Now, basically, this house had started getting major cracks into the walls and the foundation started to fail. There is an entity called the Mined Land Reclamation Board, and they go out and they investigate and they're like, well, this was actually an expansive soil issue, not a mine collapse. Like your house is on top of a mine and it collapsed. So they're basically saying that it was not because of the collapse, it was the soils. So again, still an issue. These expansive soils will cause your foundation to fail. So here you have this beautiful home overlooking the city with Pikes Peak in the background, but you also have these giant cracks in your house and you can't sell it. And so you're stuck with having to repair it. So they go to the Mined Land Reclamation Board and they're refusing to fix it. So even then with that additional insurance, it's not going to be a guarantee. Again, I don't care how nice the house is. If it's going to make me miserable 10 years from now, I wouldn't buy it. I see home buyers, they get so excited about a house overlooking the entire city, but then there's cracks all over the foundation floor. You can see the ground is shifting and you've got some of the pavement cracking and tilting up. Like those are red flags. Like I know it has an incredible view that is in the mountains basically, but you're not seeing all the cracks or the uneven foundation. Another home is one that's in a high HOA, specifically condos and townhouses. Condos and townhouses, they have way too much drama, way too much legal stuff that is happening, that can happen, that is holding them back from being able to build. So I have an entire video about the condo crisis and why condos are terrible investments. I will link that up here. But I just don't find townhouses useful anymore. For one, they have all these building issues. There's a limited inventory on condos and townhouses because no one wants to build them because of all of the legal hoops that they have to go through. But you're basically just owning a piece of structure on land. And a lot of times the land is useless. You only get, so many square feet on the lot, and it's just not a good investment. People used to buy them because they would, keep your neighborhoods nice. They would come out and plow. They would include trash. They would include insurance and do all these other things. But now these days, like the cost of the insurance is not really worth it to me. I would rather have more of my money going towards an actual asset versus a high homeowners association dues, especially if you have an HOA that's not even putting the money back into building the community or making it look nice. I don't know what they're doing with the money. And I honestly don't like relying on other people, because if other people don't pay their HOA dues, like I've seen this happen before in communities where homeowners don't pay their dues, so then now we can't have our fences replaced or our fences redone in a timely manner because no one's paying their dues. Everyone's behind. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people are behind. They don't have the money to upkeep like they promised in the beginning. And now that the insurance is dropping a lot of condos, they're having to raise prices, which makes them no longer affordable. The amount of money that you pay in HOA, you might as well put it towards a mortgage. Not only the insurance costs, but they can be controlling at times. My neighbor was just asked to paint his garage door, and I see nothing wrong with the garage door. We've been told that we need to pick up dead branches in our yards when we had none. And as much as I love that they are policing and making sure our community stays really nice, I just don't like people telling me how to live my life. But it is nice that they go around making sure that, you know, if someone has a pitiful front yard that has dandelions and the dandelions are ruining everybody else's beautifully manicured lawns, then it is nice to have that. So that's why I say a high community, a high HOA community versus like ours is pretty low. Yes, it's annoying to, you know, with the whole policing thing, but an HOA that is well managed is a good thing. Now, the last home that you don't want to buy is one that hasn't been updated. Sure, it's a good deal now, but once the furnace goes out, that can cost a ton of money. So make sure you know how old the furnace is, how old is the water heater, how's the deck looking? It could be rotting underneath. You will have some maintenance over time, but notice the chipped paint. Is there a lot of chipped paint? Are there a lot of major cracks around the house? Can you tell that the homeowner has been taking care of the property and doing the regular maintenance throughout the years? You can see the cracks. You can see places where there should have been caulking done. You can tell when the caulking is cracking and it's getting old. How are those windows looking? That's pretty expensive. The condition of the roof. Though you may not always avoid these homes, but you are going to want to ask the seller to fix things like an old, outlawed or banned or discontinued electric panel, polybutylene pipes, lead-based paint, or asbestos. Those are all like really important things to look at when you're buying a house. Now, some of these homes are just fine as long as those items get replaced or the maintenance has been done over time. If you need help navigating through any and all of this, my name's Iris, a real estate agent, and you can book a call with me. Instructions below the video. Don't forget to subscribe and then watch this video next about why condos and townhomes are the worst investment ever.